one? What would that be? Battery? Display. No, then it would be general. No. That would be, oh, desktop and screensaver maybe? No, actually. Oh, wait, what did I just do? Just go back. What it is. Oh, you just have to click back up on Safari. Let's see. Where am I? Where? Safari is open. Oh, wait, what are, oh, it's because you took off the picture. That's okay. It's a picture of Los Angeles people, probably. Oh, yeah. Alright. So that never happened. Oh, yeah, I'll look it up for you. Alright, hold on. What are we doing again?
I don't even know how to word it for the logical reason.
Just search it. Just search it. What's up? I did it. Cash Color Cannabis.
You want to get me on he wants to get me on his show.
Oh yeah,
so
you gotta pull up. I was just there on Tuesday. I'm there. If I can
Say
get
less.
there on Tuesday, I usually just pull up and just chop it off.
Say less
Every
then.
Tuesday.
Say less, bro.
Yeah.
I'm definitely
So
coming.
if not for my panel, yeah, for Mecca's show.
Facts. Yeah. Okay, no problem. Of course. Oh, I wonder if are they gonna hear us?
Rove is one of your sponsors? Yeah.
Not one of ours.
BCW.
BCW. Yeah.
You know JoJo?
JoJo?
The founders of Rove?
No, I know Davis.
Okay.
He's like the field manager, all in sales and stuff. He's my guy. He's cool.
I don't really do vapes.
I don't either.
I messed with it for a second when I moved back home, and so I'm like, I'm back home now. I tried all the brands, bro. All that shit irritates my throat.
Yeah.
It's super convenient and all that, bro.
100%. I got us a care package from Fairly for Grassroots. Nice little bag for all of us.
Thank you.
So that we all get treated well and stuff like that. So, yeah, I got all that.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you. I went out to, I was in Newton for work, so I made sure to go and pick up some of Ed's products.
Okay.
So I've been at .com for the past couple of days, in a good way.
Are they gonna hear us? I can't hear them. Hello?
Testing.
You good?
Testing.
Testing. Hello?
Testing.
Do you hear us? Okay, cool. You push down a little bit. We're about to go live, all right? Yeah. All night just
1 2 1 2.
Testing.
Yeah, they can hear us. So they could hear us up there, and that's who we're pretty much talking to.
So
they're gonna block
talking
out
to one another and or to the camera, or just each other?
Talking to each other, to the camera, and if there was people in front of us, of course. You know what I mean? That too, but
got it.
We gonna make it happen.
Yeah, I got to get down to the A. I was spending a lot of time down there last year.
Okay. I haven't been there since like 6 years. Wow. You hear me? Oh, it's behind us. So you. This is Darrell Black. We are at Boston Cannabis Week. This is Thursday afternoon in the beautiful Boston. It's been a rainy day.
It has.
A little bit of
It
a
has.
rainy day.
Still a beautiful day, though.
It's
But
a beautiful day in the bean.
But we are here at Let's Talk Weed presents Al. Let me educate you. We are going to be talking about the educational aspect of cannabis, stuff that gets overlooked, as how I feel.
Yeah.
Education gets overlooked all the time, and I think it's the forefront of the cannabis industry. It's something that we need to take a little bit more serious. And everybody always asks me, where do we get the cannabis education from? Are there certain educators that are out here that you know of? This is your opportunity to meet some of the people that I know. I have Michael Lawson here from Cannabis
Media Collective.
Cannabis Media Collective. He's out of Atlanta, Georgia. And then we have Tashonda Vincent Lee, who is very, very special to me. She is one of the people that really got my start in the industry and really just believed in everything that I was doing. And what better way not to give her flowers by having her on the panel and doing it the right way. So Tashonda Vincent Lee, the co-founder of Elevate Northeast. Happy to have you guys here, man. Really happy to have you guys here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. For sure.
Of course.
It's an honor.
I want to start by asking you guys, how did we get into cannabis? Like, what was the start of cannabis? And then how did education come into play? Because it's it's not a taboo thing to do. It's really a big challenge, and it's a whole bunch of hurdles and obstacles that you have to go through. So just want to get your I'm on right now. Get your we have I just want to get you know, where did you get your start at? Tashonda, please start.
Sure. So I got my start pretty much as everyone else that I knew around me, which was self-education.
Okay.
So my path, even to education, I think of it as patient, then politics, and then passion, because that's been my road. So I was diagnosed early 2012. So I have PTSD, ADHD, depression, those types of things. And I was prescribed psychotropics. The issue with the psychotropics was that they were actually they were hindering my quality of life. The side effects were not working for me. And when I went and I spoke to my healthcare providers, the only thing that they continued to do was increase my dosage, which pretty much just intensified the side effects.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'd had several conversations with friends, and to be quite honest, I started spending more time around lawyers, judges, police officers, and so on and so forth. And I started to notice that they were all consuming cannabis, which to me, right, almost felt like a conflict of interest, because I'm like, whoa, your life, your career is literally built on imprisoning individuals who are consuming this plant. But meanwhile, in your off time, this is what you enjoy to do. So when I'm invited to your home, I'm enjoying fine wines and cheeses, but also cannabis.
Of course.
And but through that time, right, I started to notice that, wait a minute, when I do consume, I'm much more focused. My mood is elevated.
Yes.
And I'm able to actively engage, all of those things. And so I was like, whoa, let me do some education. And then I started to do research.
Yep.
And I learned about prohibition. I learned about the miseducation. I learned that we had this thing called an endocannabinoid system.
Every single person.
Exactly. I learned about CB1, CB2 receptors. And when I went to my healthcare providers, unfortunately, they could not have the conversation with me.
Isn't that crazy when you know more than them?
Right. So long story over, I literally titrated myself off of my psychotropics.
Yep.
Thank you. And I moved to this completely holistic regimen. Fast forward, I moved to Boston in 2017. I was an advisor initially for Tito Jackson and his mayoral campaign.
Yep.
At the time, he was the sitting District 7 city councilor. So I was advising him on a lot of the things that were coming through regarding Question 4 and et cetera. So from there, he just liked my work ethic. He loved the way, I was able to network, engage, and I had already had my own network of professionals, if you will, that I used to leverage. So that's when he really got involved and, so on and so forth. And from there, I used, again, that network to create more access and to really, really try my best to fill in the gap as far as education was concerned. So that's how I got started.
Love that. I love that. Now, Michael, me and you just met. We haven't had a crazy exchange of what you do in the industry and how you're trying to help the communities and stuff like that. Give me a little bit of that type of give me a little bit of that just information on what you do. What is it that you do in order to give back to their community with the education? And how does that look for you in a place where it's not legal? Not legal at all. You could get a lot of time in Georgia for having cannabis, and I wonder
significant amounts of cannabis.
Exactly. So please tell us what you do and how you do it.
Absolutely. So, I'm a former therapist in the juvenile criminal justice system.
Yep.
I'm a former school counselor, trained as a clinical mental health therapist. And so, similar to your story, post-traumatic stress affects so many people, whether they know it or not.
Of course.
Right? And so, it wasn't until I started my graduate study in 2010 that I found out that I cope with post-traumatic stress. But I had been using cannabis at that point for over 10 years to mitigate those symptoms. I just didn't realize it. I didn't understand it from an academic scholarly perspective. So I would say my journey as a cannabis educator started in my graduate school study, when I understood immediately that the curriculum that they're teaching us in graduate school on cannabis is completely contradictory to what we know and what we experience in real life.
Of course.
Right? And so that's what I have been doing for some time now. That's what I've been doing for some time now, working in the community. I really started as a therapist, educating the criminal justice system on why my clients continue to use cannabis while they're on probation. And so I had to articulate to them in a very scholarly, academic way. Our clients are putting their needs for coping with post-traumatic stress before their legal situation, which just opens up a bigger conversation about cannabis and mental health.
Of course.
And so working as a school counselor, having to explain to school administration, we shouldn't be sending students home that are showing up to school with the red eye, jet eye. They looking a little sluggish. They smell like some bud, but they're in the building now.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
And I'm a firm believer that a child should be in the building rather than on the street.
Of course, 100%.
Right? Whether they came in there for food, shelter, or social engagement, no matter what, we have to educate our students while we have a captive audience. You know what I'm
100%.
saying? So I've been a cannabis advocate and educator even while I was working in the school system and in criminal justice, but it was very tricky, to be quite honest with you. It was very, very tricky.
Yeah.
Back then, I couldn't reveal to anybody that I was using cannabis.
Yep.
Right? So I had to do this in a way in which I'm coming off as the therapist, the educator, the adult, but I'm not breaking the law, so to speak. But after years of moving in that space, I created Cannabis Media Collective and charted my own path to where I could create my own platform to educate citizens on using cannabis as an option.
Of course.
Right? And so in Georgia, to circle back to your question, in Georgia, we're really operating under this hemp umbrella, right? Hemp is legal.
Of course.
So everybody that's talking about cannabis, they're talking about it in a way where they're framing it under a hemp conversation, right? For me, I don't like to separate hemp and cannabis. I think they're all one plant, right? Essentially. And at the end of the day, I stress on the citizens and decision makers on understanding the clear-cut health benefits of using this plant, right? Particularly in terms of supporting our mental health. A lot of people don't discuss the fact that sleep is the cornerstone of all health, right? If we're not getting healthy sleep, more than likely we're unhealthy in other ways, right? And it's no coincidence that cannabis is critical to being a sleep aid,
Of course.
right? To helping people ease into their sleep and helping people stay asleep,
Yep.
right? And get a deep sleep. And so, you know, one of the easiest topics to talk about is, are we getting good sleep? How does cannabis help us achieve that, right? Because a lot of times we don't go to sleep because we're anxious, because we're fearful, we're doubtful, we're dealing with chronic pain, right? Cannabis helps mitigate all of those symptoms. We're dealing with post-traumatic stress, right? So we don't go to sleep because of stress. Then we don't get good sleep.
Yep.
Then we wake up anxious.
Of course.
And so it's a circle. It's a revolving door that goes around and around and around. The cannabis is a great tool to interrupt that, right? And so I spend my time educating the school systems, citizens in the community, our criminal justice systems, all of the systems in which we operate, right? Because when you think about it, in a human lifespan, most of us are going to touch the school system. We're going to touch our communities in which we live in.
Yep.
We're going to touch a workplace in which we work and earn a living. Then we have our own family systems, right, within the community. Then we have our individual selves,
Of course.
right? And so there are 4 systems outside of our individual selves that we have to that we have to address cannabis wellness, right?
Of course.
So that's what I do. But it's very difficult in the state of Georgia. But I will say, a lot of people don't know. In the city of Atlanta, our city council and Mayor Kasim Reed decriminalized cannabis in 2017.
There we go.
So it's a very interesting landscape in Georgia. So in the city of Atlanta, you can possess up to an ounce without any serious ramifications. It's like a fine or a ticket. But Atlanta Police Department really doesn't enforce it, right? So if you're not just blatantly breaking the law, doing something heinous, they're not going to give you a hard time.
You're in the shot.
And so, so it's tricky in Georgia, but luckily the climate is changing in a way in which the various systems that we all operate in our lives are being more receptive to the conversation.
Of course.
10 years ago, they didn't want to hear it. It was a forbidden conversation.
Of course. And like, even speaking on that, like you guys both spoke on just being that educator for the community, for the criminal justice system, for the older generation, for that churchgoers and all that stuff. Those are some of the people that we're trying to educate, because we have to get through to the older generation that this is okay. And this is a plant where you can actually heal a lot of those wounds that we have, and especially a lot of those mental wounds that we have. You know what I mean? And with me, going into this industry was being an advocate, making sure that Black and brown people are prioritized, and that we have an option and we have some type of ability of change in our communities. Because it goes so deep for me, where in the suburbs they have crossing guards. In the hood, we don't got that. You feel me? In the hood, there's no Planned Parenthoods, there's no education of fertilization, nothing like that. We have to seek these things out in suburban areas. We have to go seek these things out in areas where we're not from, that sometimes don't accept us.
They don't embrace us, for sure.
And we need to gain the resources from all of this stuff, that the same resources that they have. They have a lot of resources that we don't have. Simple things, just like I said, crossing guards. Simple little things that you just don't even realize, or it doesn't even cross your mind about. You know what I mean?
Right.
Tashawn, you was about to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say that's exactly, like, you're hitting on all of the points and really the reasons that I co-founded Elevate. So for us, it was a matter of, okay, how do we bring together our collective resources, and how do we leverage that in a way that actually will make an impact? So for me, it was standing in the gap for people that look like us. It was, okay, wait a minute. The reason that I am accepting of this particular drug, if you will, is because I've been educated about it. But at the same time, let's be honest, cannabis has been demonized and it's been used and weaponized against our communities.
100%.
So what you're asking me to do, I think of it like crack. I'm an 80s baby, right? So Yesterday, crack was illegal, right? You broke up a lot of families. Like, we're talking generational trauma that has occurred because of this, right? Same with cannabis, same thing, right?
100%.
So then you figure, now you're going to take this, and today you're saying, oh, it's legal, go be free, figure it out.
Do what you want to do.
You can't tell my grandmother, who is a Christian woman, who is Southern Baptist, that, okay, this drug that caused her grandsons to be arrested, this drug, that was a gateway to so many other issues and traumas, right? This drug that has been used literally to pillar the community,
100%.
meaning it's not the drug that did it, right?
Yep.
We're talking about a legacy illicit market full of capable, intelligent individuals who do not have access. They don't have access to the resources where they can use their powers, if you will, for good instead of evil, right?
100%.
But you can't take this and now say, okay, now you can use it with no education. You can't do that. So I thought of cannabis the same way. My grandmother, there was no differentiation between cannabis and crack in my family.
Yep.
It's all a drug. It's all going to ruin your life.
Yep.
It's all going to end your career. You don't do these things. So for us, like, I'm thinking when we did the highest praise, right?
Yep.
So we had a rabbi, we had a pastor, we had a theologian, we had them all, and we were talking about cannabis in the historic and religious text, so that people can know that this is like during BC, like for real, like this has been around for a long time.
I love that approach.
But we took that because stigma exists, right?
100%.
So when you identify these stigmas that exist, it is absolutely our job to put together the education that directly addresses that. So that's why I was going to say, like, you're hitting it on the head. This is why I do what I do.
Yeah, exactly.
And speaking to the education piece, something very important you mentioned. Our elders in the community who don't support cannabis, whether it's medical, recreational, entrepreneurship. What I've started to understand over the past 2 years is that educating them on the science of cannabis is good, right?
Yes.
So that they know its value for wellness. But I'm also realizing it's equally important for us to educate them on the history of cannabis.
Absolutely.
And its prohibition, right?
Absolutely.
And understanding very important things that I feel like are left out of the conversation most of the time, right? So let's go back in time to the 1930s. Harry Anslinger and the Federal Bureau of Narcotics are hatching this plan. The architects of prohibition, right?
100%.
They're in Arizona. They're looking at acres and miles of cannabis fields growing in the wild. People don't realize, our elders in particular, that the FBN had to go on a state-to-state campaign to prohibit cannabis. It was not federally illegal at that time. So they had to literally go state to state and convince each governor that this substance is going to have the black man attacking white women, Mexicans tearing shit up,
of course,
the Chinese breaking things down with opium, etc. But here's an interesting fact that is very rarely discussed. And I've been traveling all year from conference to conference, some predominantly black conferences, some all white conferences, but this is never brought up. When Harry Anslinger and FBN showed up in New York, Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia was mayor at the time. LaGuardia was a proponent of cannabis. He said there are 500 speakeasies in the 5 boroughs of New York. Most of them, they're using cannabis, and most of them, we don't have any problems out of these places, right? So he put together the LaGuardia Commission, which did the first in-depth study on cannabis. He commissioned it in 1939. They finished their study in 1944. They came to a bunch of conclusions, much of what we already know now, that it's not going to cause a breakdown in society. And all of the myths and the demonization that the government has been miseducating us, the LaGuardia Commission in 1944 demystified all of that. But here's the most important fact that nobody talks about. At that time, they discovered that the epicenter of cannabis distribution, sale, manufacturing was Harlem, USA.
Harlem?
Harlem.
Wow.
And they also discovered in most other black communities around the United States. We controlled this industry before it was prohibited. So this whole notion of it was all a racial propaganda move. No, it was much more than that. It was much more sinister than that, right? they took an economic resource from us that they knew would be an opportunity for us decades down the line.
Of course.
Right?
Of
It's
course.
our elders. They totally missed that. So
course.
they've been subject to this intentional bombardment of, you know, the stoner mythology and the criminalization of the plant, not realizing that they have been completely lied to for 60, 70 years.
Well, they couldn't be, because remember, the actual studies and education were pulled off of the shelves.
Absolutely.
The United States government called our higher institutions of learning and literally told them, everything you have on cannabis, pull it off your shelves.
Absolutely.
And then from there, we started the misinformation, because remember, it started off as a tax.
The tax act,
Right.
stamp.
Exactly.
The cannabis
And from
tax
there,
stamp.
Henry, and then Nixon after that.
Yeah.
Nixon's statements of his was very clear when he said, I can't make it illegal for them to be black, for them to be Latino, but I can definitely criminalize what they use.
100%.
So when we're talking about like the prison industrial complex,
No, talk about it.
this is literally the root of it.
It is the rule of it.
So yeah, it's unfortunately it is very sinister.
But this is the education that people are lacking.
Yeah.
This is the stuff that people like us spend all of our hard-working time engulfed in this stuff, because to me personally, it's like it's just so like sad to just keep reading all of this shit because of because of our skin and what we do. And now we see white men, white women making millions and millions upon millions of dollars on it, giving us this equity speech saying that, oh yeah, we got this equity plan, but there's no way of making money. Like, there's no way of making money. I was on a panel on Tuesday. Shout out to everybody that was on the legacy transition into legal. That was a really good panel. And one person was just saying, like, they did it backwards. Like, you should have expunged everybody for this plant. Make sure that is the first thing. Have those people be the people that are getting the social equity, economic empowerment.
So right the wrong first.
Right the wrong first. That's all we ever want, is just right the wrong.
Right.
And we're not asking for we're not asking to borrow anything. We're asking for what is owed to us. There's hundreds and thousands of men, black men and black women, that are in prison for cannabis. And we're living in Massachusetts. I'm living in Massachusetts. You guys are living a little bit. You're in DC a little bit. You're in. You know what it is. Nothing. All they do is imprison black people over cannabis, and we have been legalized for a little bit of time now, and the rates are still astronomical.
Which is crazy when you look at the actual rate of usage, right?
Well,
because what we know is that communities of color and European American communities all use drugs, cannabis, illicit drugs at the same rate. Here's the difference. Their community is protected by police. Yep. Our communities are policed by police. And that's the difference. That's the difference. You're looking to care and to protect over there, but over here you're looking to lock up and to justify.
And to your point, law enforcement, they want to keep a stranglehold on this because of probable cause.
And funding.
Probable cause and funding. They don't want to lose that. When they walk up to that car, all they have to do is say, I smell it. And they got all access to search and seize.
So
and they don't want to give that up. And the money piece.
And back in 2014, that's exactly how I got arrested. I was in Rhode Island, Providence. I was licensed unrestricted throughout the state of Massachusetts. I was going to the gun range that day. Didn't end up going. Forgot my gun was in my car. Went to Providence. They seen somebody rolling up in my back seat. Boom, checking the whole car.
And so now they're putting the cannabis and the gun possession together.
And it's all on me now. I spent 5 years on fighting that, 3 years on probation, 2 years of just continuances. Them wanting to, the craziest part about it is I was locked up my first night. I was locked up with somebody that was in there for the same exact thing. I did not. I had a gun license. That person did not. From the same. He's from Massachusetts. I'm from Massachusetts. He's white. I'm a black man. Big black man.
Yeah.
He got out 20, 23, 24 hours. I was in there for 72 before my peoples could bail us out. Shout out to my people. But
And you had a license and he did not and was out before you?
Of course. These are some of the things that just happens for us.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I
That's
mean?
our
Like,
experience.
I not even to go on a tangent, but look, we're here now.
Right.
Even like today, like some of the stuff that I'm hearing off of Boston Celtics head coach, we have to be so exceptional. We have to be so exceptional for them to just be like, he's all right.
We held to a
He's
different.
all right.
He's all
We
right.
have to
We
be
held to a different
exceptional.
standard.
Exactly.
My father told me that growing up. You gotta be twice as good, run twice as fast, twice as far.
My mother told me I was born with 3 strikes against me.
Every
One, I was black. The other, I was a woman.
Yep.
So I had to work 3 times as hard as anyone else just to achieve what was average.
100%. And it's just like, it's definitely one of those things that bothers me, especially being older, you know what I mean? And just really being a sharp mind and just looking at the world and where we're at and the influence and everything like that. Some of this stuff right now that's gonna go on YouTube, and we'll probably get 1,000 views. We'll put something negative up there. 500,000 views. But that's the outlook that we're doing right now. And we need to have the educational aspect of cannabis have those 100,000 views. That's the stuff that needs to elevate and come within the dust and stuff like that. Because without education, we're gonna be lost and continue to be lost.
Absolutely.
We're only thing. I work in a dispensary. I'm a general manager at a dispensary. Only thing people are asking for is the highest THC content. They don't want to know what's going on and how this can actually affect your body, your mind, your
Terpene
spirit.
profiles.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because
You feel me?
THC chases are, I love them, but that's not how it works.
It's not
much
how
more
it
That's
to
not
the
how it
plant.
works. It's
So
this
much
thing
more to
called
the
an entourage effect.
Right.
Exactly.
That's the conversation we need to be having. The terpenes, the flavonoids, right? The other minor cannabinoids.
But your endocannabinoid system versus my endocannabinoid system are completely different.
Exactly.
So we can consume the same plant in the same manner, but how it impacts you is not how it's going to impact me.
Agreed. 100%.
100%. And like, that's the stuff that I champion at my dispensary. I say this 17%er is gonna bust your ass. You're gonna be on the couch. It's some heavy indica, a lot of myrcene in it, giving them the terms instead of just describing what it's gonna do.
Right.
Terms
Right.
is what's gonna resonate
Like
out of
the
everything.
haphazard descriptions, we got to get away from that.
Exactly.
To be very specific. One thing I always champion is being intentional in our cannabis use.
Of course.
Right? Like, why are you using cannabis right now in this moment? What's the desired outcome that you are looking for, you expect, right? That's my whole philosophy. I'm a big proponent of, people talk about the plant as a recreational substance, but it's really a medical substance that's used recreationally,
That's what I believe. Yeah.
right? So I'm a firm believer. We're
And
even using it.
being abused.
So at the very least, you can say it's a social lubricant, right? But the clinical term would be it relieves anxiety,
Of course.
right? So when you talk about anxiety, focus,
Pain.
pain,
And arthritis, all of these
arthritis,
things.
these are all things that affect our quality of life. And when you talk about the endocannabinoid system, I feel like the average citizen is unaware the endocannabinoid system affects our mood, our appetite,
Yep.
our memory,
Yep.
our pain. These are all things that affect us on a daily basis.
On a daily
24
basis.
hours, every minute, every
You
second
said
of the day.
you said something about sleep.
Yes.
That's
Right,
every
I'm sorry, I
day.
just left sleep out. Endocannabinoid
That's
system.
every day.
Sleep,
But wait, no,
immunity.
and if you don't have enough sleep, you literally take time off of your life.
Yep.
You have to have sleep to live. So quality sleep is important. You know what I mean?
Of course.
It is. I completely understand.
Now I want to segue. We got off of the table. We were rocking. I like
Yes.
that. Was nice. I like that.
That was organic right there.
That was
That was
organic.
pure organic
Now
right there. I love
I want us to explain our businesses.
Yeah.
I want us to actually engulf ourselves. We only got about 10, 15 more minutes. So I want to make sure that we appropriately tell people what our businesses are, what we do, and how we can influence and impact the lives of the less fortunate.
Absolutely.
So please, Michael, please start, man.
Yeah, so Cannabis Media Collective is an education platform focused on educating citizens, empowering entrepreneurs and business owners, and elevating the science of cannabis wellness. Right? It's the 3 E's: education, empowerment, and elevation. And so basically what I do is I go into the various systems, the school system, the criminal justice system, and I produce coursework and content to educate decision makers, policymakers, executives on cannabis in that particular system. Right? Because one thing I'm trying to drill down is bringing a more academic and scholarly lens to this plant, and letting corporate America in particular know that we've got millions and millions of workers out here using cannabis every day. They may or may not be aware of this, making them more productive employees. When you're a more productive employee, you earn more for your family, you benefit the company, it benefits society. So my platform is all about educating the population on how cannabis can improve not only our quality of life, but our way of life.
Yep.
How I do that, my focus is this. I don't want the common person to have to pay for services related to cannabis education. I want the healthcare system, the criminal justice system, the education system, I want these systems to have multi-million and multi-billion-dollar budgets to pay us to provide that education, right? That's how I monetize, is through the systems in which I operate. But I also provide cannabis coaching services. So I work as a therapist, as a mental health technician, and so I realized that we have to bridge the gap between, we have too many therapists who don't know about cannabis, and too many people in cannabis who don't know about mental health.
Yes.
And I'm the guy who knows a lot about both. And so I meet with my clients, not only counseling them on mental health needs, but also coaching them on how to use cannabis effectively in their life. So for instance, if I'm charging a client $150 an hour for a session, not only are we going to have a session to address your mental health needs, but I'm going to come with samples of product to share with you, teach you how to use them, leave them with you, see what works, see what doesn't work. So helping people integrate cannabis into their personal life regimen.
I love that. Now to Shonda, I have to say, before we get out of here, how much of a godsend you have been for me personally. Started back in 2018, met you in about later in 2018 at one of the weekends, and just connected, just like a real big connection. And first thing that she put me in was one of her course curriculums. It was how to cultivate cannabis. Loved it. 8-week course. Very, very, very good speakers and very good people to come up and teach us about these things. Loved it 100%. Really just sparked my interest in my mind with education. Like, this is the stuff that's not happening. One of the things that was I had to realize was like, all right, we're driving really far just to be in this one area, just to learn these things. And of course, we was really early. So we had to make these changes. That's why it was really important for me to be in the disproportionate areas of the community. So I wanted to be in Roxbury. I wanted to be in Dorchester. I wanted to be in Springfield. I wanted to go to Worcester, the inner cities of Worcester. I wanted to do these things so that I could really feed the hood, feed Black and brown people this knowledge and this education. And my education isn't like maybe where it's a curriculum. There's certain things that you have to do. My education is giving people the opportunity to see people like them excel in a certain area. So I like to highlight you guys because this is what, we don't know who's sitting out here looking at this. We don't know who we're going to spark an interest in.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? We don't know who is going to be that person that's like, I'm going to elevate the cannabis, the educational aspect of cannabis, and I'm going to take it from these 3 pillars and apply it to and go further. So that's why I do what I do. I don't want to step on the toes of real educators. You know what I mean? I'm not a professor. I'm not a teacher. I'm just somebody that's very passionate about this plant.
But you are an educator.
And I am an educator.
You
of
share
course.
your
You might not call
knowledge,
yourself
right?
one, but you are one.
Of course.
Exactly.
Of
You
course.
take qualified, a lot of
100%.
evidence-based information, and you share it.
Of course.
So you are an educator.
I really appreciate it. So going back to Tashonda, like Elevate Northeast was such a catapult for me and a springboard for my cannabis career. And I just want to say thank you so much. I can't even tell you how much I am appreciative of you, and you stood by me at 100%. You seen something in me before I seen it in myself, and I just wanted to give you that. And now I want you to explain to the good people what Elevate Northeast really is.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
And I want you to know that as much as I may have made an impact and had an impression on you, you've done equally as much for me. Like I see you as my peer. So I need you to know that. And Elevate is going to continue to do just what you shared, right? Like this is why we exist. So for us, we are about education of our community as well as the industry professionals, right? So the workforce, our community, we're also about advocacy. And a big part of what we do is networking. So now in the next year, though, I won't even say next year. I'm just going to tell you in a couple of months.
Yep.
We have this.
We're gonna manifest that.
Yeah, we have this other leg of our organization that's going to kick off. And so, unbeknownst to people, we have $200,000 to give away to some deserving small business owners.
Okay.
So we're actually putting together a social equity pitch competition because what we realize, and this is just talking, right? So I told you about the things that we stand on. Those are our pillars, right? We've literally stood at the intersection of those folks who are in the industry and those people who want to learn more about it and those folks who want to become owners and operators within this space. But one of the largest gaps that we saw specifically for equity applicants and social equity applicants was funding. So when we talked about pushing equity, we talked about this. What was not there was the funding to make it happen. There were some things that happened legislative-wise.
Of course.
And then when we got into...
Wouldn't be cannabis if not.
Right. When we get into this is what I'll say. The fund has been held up, I believe, by the politics, right? So seeing that this was a gap, we learned and did our research and got our lawyers on board. And so now we're looking to fill that gap. So no longer do owners and operators have to contribute to the state fund, which is not funding anyone at the time, for their positive impact plans. They actually can provide that money to Elevate Northeast, and we're putting together the competition to bring those potential, but they already are, they have to be licensed. So you're either an equity applicant or social equity applicant. So as long as you've been granted that particular designation, we have an application process. You'll go through the process. We have qualified judges. Like we're talking accountants. We're talking about actual business owners. We're talking about like insurance providers. We have it all because we want folks to look at the plan to make sure it's really valuable. And not only that, if we can, we want to provide you with the information and say, okay, this is what you do have, but you got a little bit to go here to at least get them on the right path. But for those folks who are voted upon, we are going to provide them with a grant.
That is amazing.
Can I just say, we have to take some time out before I leave town to talk because we have an education program rolling out at Morehouse College where we're focused on giving the students the information on the history and science behind cannabis. But to the point you just made, my partner Justin and I, the gaps we see is where are the resources to get our young people in the community into the cannabis industry career-wise, either as entrepreneurs or as a full-blooded career in cannabis. And so what we created is a cannabis literacy club, which does monthly education seminars on campus. We have an education panel coming up next month for homecoming with Dr. Uma, Dr. Bridget Williams, Dr. Sarah from University of Maryland's new medical cannabis program, and Dr. Rashawn Hodge. but we're focused on the career development piece.
Okay.
Where do our young people who are coming out of high school, going to JCs, going to college, studying accounting, law, marketing, architecture, design, HVAC, plumbing, you name it, molecular biology, chemistry, physics. The whole generation of innovation is sitting here,
Exactly.
not being cultivated.
No.
So,
Literally.
to your point, we have to educate our elderly community,
Yep.
but we have to provide opportunities for our next generation of young people coming up under us to get into this industry and create opportunities that we didn't have.
100%.
We created this ourselves.
100%.
But
100%.
now this is a platform for our young people to now cultivate their own careers. So I think it's just powerful what you've been able to do, brother.
Yeah,
I'll give
man.
my flowers. Give
I really
your flowers.
appreciate. I really appreciate that. Like, this is a platform. Let's Talk Weed is a platform where we just want to give an opportunity to the regular person. I want them to feel like, I want people to see that black people, black men and women are very, very professional. We make a lot of money, and we can make a lot of money in this industry. I want to show that we're not just, I was speaking on the panel again, just giving them the thought that if you already have done this in the legacy market, why can't you do it?
Absolutely.
If you've been already delivering weed to people, why can't you just put it in a format where it's good for the state? You can buy somebody to do that. Like, you can get someone to do it.
A lot of them just don't know that they can do it.
100%. 100%.
It's attainable.
And that's why I do my platform, because I let people know you can 100% do it. I have investors ready for you. I have social equity directors here. I have all of these things culminated so that they can provide you with what you need. You know what I mean? I have people that are just starting out in the cannabis industry, that are halfway into the industry, and I have people that are fully looking for investors right now, trying to get their shop up and running. And they feel like they can become a Cookies, and they have the branding power to become this. They just need the funding. They just need somebody to believe in them. And I want to get the black dollar instead of just asking white and white men and white women, can we get some of this? Can we partner up? Because they treat it as oh, all right, here, I can let you, you can borrow this money, but I'm not. It's a handout.
Yeah.
Where honestly, this is a partnership. My money, your money is only gonna grow as I grow. This is something that it's a give and take. You do something, one hand washes the other, both hands wash the face. And I think that's where the disconnect is with a lot of predatory lenders and a lot of investors and cannabis entrepreneurs. There's a disconnect where they feel like it is only a handout and it's not a give and take. It's not a partnership. And that's where that first education has to come through. And a lot of the last 4 or 5 Let's Talk Weed events has been just that, getting them to understand this is not a handout. You're giving a lot to this person. Just because that they have money, that don't mean that they have the idea. You got the idea. You have the brain work to make this thing go. So I always tell everybody, know your worth. Know what you're worth. Know if you have $1 million idea, multi-million-dollar idea, a $1 billion idea, stand on that. Stand on that. Have the confidence of that. Make sure that you know I'm gonna bust their ass when they see this one. They're gonna know who I am, because that's where a lot of people in this industry get it messed up on, just doing what we need to do for our people and doing what we need to do for the black dollar and for the black community. Keep it circulating. There's so many black brands out here. I have 3 or 4 of them here tonight. This is what it's here for. And I want to make sure that I highlight people that are just everything to me and doing a lot of the same things as me. Being an educator is very, very hard, man. We don't get a lot of money for this. We don't get money. I haven't made $1 off of this thing at all.
It's pure passion, baby.
Pure passion. I'm doing this straight for my people.
Yeah, everything that we get goes out. We haven't taken salaries or anything since we've been operating. And then the other piece is, when I tell you what does make me feel good though, is that we've given way more money than I've ever received from what I'm doing. And that's what allows me to know that I'm doing the right thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
You know, for me, to really just get deep with it, because we already there. For me, I see the historical significance of what it is that we're doing.
Mhm.
Because if you look at, let's just talk about the beauty and hair care industry. We've been completely boxed out of that.
Literally.
That ship has sailed.
Literally.
This industry is in its infancy right now.
Prohibition.
And so we have an opportunity. When I say we, I mean people like us, let's say cannabis community builders. What we do now, it will show 100 years from now.
100%. 100%.
100%.
You can build something off of this foundation in this base. And with what we're doing, this is going to be the starting point to get us to where we need to see the cannabis industry in its educational aspect of it.
Absolutely.
So I want to close it out. We went over time a little bit. I love that. Love that.
This is really good.
This is what we got. This is a great conversation.
Yes.
This is something that we just need to extend on. You know what I mean? We need to do this again in the next upcoming months or something like that. We'll figure it out. But
I'm here
we
always.
really need to figure out how to get this education out to the people and make sure that we're the starting foundation of where this cannabis industry goes.
100%.
100%. And I want to say thank you to Boston Cannabis Week. I want to say thank you to Curaleaf. I want to say thank you to Select, Grassroots, Lifted Smoking Goods, the Best Dirty Lemonade. I want to give a shout out to everybody to what they're doing. The Best Dirty Lemonade is a lemonade that is going to be out in our shelves very, very soon. It's going to be a launch within the Massachusetts industry very soon. Very excited about that. Lifted Smoking Goods is an accessory-based cannabis company that I love. Get your grinders, your grinders, your storage packets, your trays, your papers. Get everything from them. And then we have Curaleaf with Select, Grassroots, Endless Coast. Those are some of the bigger MSOs in this industry that I'm very happy that are sponsoring and partnering up with a small Black-owned business. That's what we need to see in this industry. More MSOs, more cannabis companies being held accountable for what they have to do in that legislation, in that regulation. Positive impact plans, this is what it is. So,
and they can't say that we don't exist. We exist.
There's three of us right here. We got Atlanta, we got the whole northeast of everything.
Boston, everything.
We got Boston.
I'm from LA, so we got the West Coast.
We got all of that, man. So
we got the domestic services.
Please know that there is education out here in the cannabis industry, and we are some of the three leaders in this industry at the educational aspect. So please, if there's any questions, comments, concerns, let us know. Give us your handles at for your social media.
Absolutely,
please,
man.
Mike.
You can find me at _CM Collective, CM Collective _ Cannabis Media Collective. Here for your cannabis coaching needs.
And you can follow us at elevate_NE. And then you can follow me at 80s Baby. I'm around. Feel free to reach out.
Of course.
Anything I can do to help, that's what I'm here for.
100%. And you can find us at Let's Talk Weed _EDU. You can find me at Candyman Black. That's my handle. And that's on everywhere. And Burrell Black on Facebook and Meta. I want to make sure we say that the right way.
Right.
You know, trying to get that partnership with Meta. And let us know what we can do. But again, thank you, Boston Cannabis Week, for an incredible week so far. And we're about to get this mixer started, and let's get this party started. We got a great DJ over here, and shout out to all of the partners and sponsors of the Boston Cannabis Week. Thank you so much, and we'll see you very soon for the next Let's Talk Weed.